So we're now back into open session. And we have a public hearing at 6 o'clock. So we should go right into that. So we have a public hearing regarding an application from Cornerstone Energy Services for new transmission lines that will cross above the following public ways. Spring Street is approximately 2,000 feet northwesterly of its intersection with Route 44, and Brook Street approximately 1,200 feet northeasterly of its intersection with Old Farm Road. Liz, do we have any comments?
Everybody was properly notified. Notice was sufficiently provided to everybody.
Okay.
And this is a continuation, isn't it, of the meeting?
We actually posted it as a brand new public hearing since we were doing it on this date. So notice was redistributed.
And who's representing Cornerstone? Right. Okay.
John Perrin, and it's actually Cornerstone Energy is working for Eversource. So it's actually Eversource's lines that'll be crossing the roads.
Okay, this is following the same transmission lines that are there presently, correct?
Correct.
And all we are approving is the street crossings.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anybody who wants to comment on this that's here? Did you have any questions, Mark, on it?
I do not. My understanding being it's essentially the wires in the air crossing the road, and our approval was limited to that.
That's my understanding too. Anybody else want to comment before we vote on this? Yes.
So there's one in the air, that's Spring Street, and there's one underground, that's Brook Street.
Okay. So the Brook Street is underground. I didn't realize that.
Yes.
And we should note the highway department is actively working with Eversource and Cornerstone on a plan for the roadway. And there will be a bond in place before they do anything to the roadway. So that will follow the normal highway department protocols that they've always used in the past with Eversource projects.
So does that mean you're going to have to dig up the roadway, or are you able to put it into the transmission line that's there? In other words, is there a pipe underneath the road now?
No pipe. It'll have to be open cut, installed, backfilled, all the whole 9 yards. Yep.
Okay. Well, the highway is working with you. That's great.
Yes, sir.
Liz, beyond, do we need any more comments before taking a vote?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, given our role, I believe the motion is for us to approve the crossings for Spring Street, 2,000 feet northwesterly of its intersection with Route 44, and Brook Street approximately 1,200 feet northeasterly of its intersection with Old Farm Road. So motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Trainor, yes. Christine Joy, our chairperson, is not here today, so that vote will have to suffice with the two of us.
Understood.
Okay. Well, thank you for attending.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too.
Excuse me, John.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And this is for John Trainor. I will have all of those documents ready to be signed on the cabinet tomorrow.
Okay, so you want us in? Okay.
Yes, please. Okay.
I'll be in.
All right, thanks.
Bree, is that time sensitive? Does it really need to be tomorrow?
how about if you at least have it done so I can send it out Wednesday morning?
Yes, by 4 a.m. Wednesday morning, it will be signed. I'll probably get to it tomorrow, but no later than that, promise.
Okay, that's fantastic, and it will be sent out on Wednesday morning. That's perfect.
Great. Thanks, Bree.
Thank you.
Okay, our next discussion is annual license renewal process, timeline and plans. Liz, you had sent out what we had done last time.
Yes. So let me just pull it up here. So what I was proposing for your approval would be, let me see here. Christine would handle the liquor license inspections, John to handle the Upland Club inspections, and Mark to handle the auto establishments. And with keeping to the timeline, Bree would send everything out to the establishments no later than October 13th. She would also send the board the same information by that date so that you would be aware of what special conditions, if any, may have been imposed on certain licenses in the past. And as far as like total number of cars allowed and that kind of thing. And then if we had everything back in hand by November 16th, you could vote all the ones that had come in at our second meeting in November, and then any remaining ones or last minute ones at the December 5th meeting. So this timeline seems like it would work well for us. And Bree and I have also reviewed the timeline, and
Okay.
she's comfortable with it.
You comfortable with that, Mark, as far as taking all the cars? That's
It sounds like a punishment, but I've had it frequently in the past, and so I'm
Okay.
glad to do it. I would say I'm thrilled that we're creating this timeline and we're getting this done in a timely manner. It's been a challenge in previous years, and we're running up against the end of the year. So I very much appreciate Liz and Bree that we're doing it this way. The one thing I'd ask is, Bree, when you send this stuff out, would it be reasonable to mention to each of these establishments that there will be an unannounced inspection through some period of time?
They are aware of that when they get their application. It's written right in the letter.
Okay, good.
And
Thank you.
the fire department has already got their list.
What was
They've
that?
done the inspections. The fire department also does it in inspections. It's
Okay.
part of the license
Yeah.
that we do, and it's part of the packet, the checklist that I send them. So all, with the exception of one license, and you only have, there's 7 licenses for the class 2, 3, and scrap combined, and only one of them is actually mailed. The rest are all done through email.
okay, good.
And the fire department is aware and has been sent the list again today for their fire inspections. We have 3 liquor licenses. One I don't think one is pending. I don't know if they're going to be renewing. And if they do, that will be 4. And that includes the club, John.
Yep.
And with the range permit.
So are you comfortable with that? Is the board comfortable with that timeline? Does that sound okay?
I think it does from my end.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, great. So let's, you don't need to vote on that, do you? No.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I can probably go down to the club a couple of times to make sure they sign it.
Yes.
Okay. Approval of early voting hours for the November election we have coming up, the special. You want to lead us through that, Liz, what you need?
Sure. So we received an email from the town clerk dated September 14th, in which she outlined the dates and hours for early voting. So I would recommend that you make a motion to approve the early voting hours for the November election as noted in the town clerk's email dated September 14th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer, yes.
Great.
Board of Selectmen sponsored articles for special town meeting. Do you have a list of those, Liz?
I do. So for BOS sponsored ones, we have the Turkey Swamp articles. There's one for the land acquisition piece itself involving the MVP grant. And then we have another placeholder for the CPC portion of that.
Okay.
Then we have the fire chief age restriction article. And then we have one that's a minor housekeeping item that involves the wage and personnel bylaw. I imagine that the wage advisory committee will be handling that. I let Alan know about it earlier today.
Okay.
But just to be safe, I think we should keep it on the BOS list for now, in case for some reason, if they were unable to meet before the warrant closed, to make sure that that stays on there. And then we have one for the solar moratorium. And then we have.
Who is speaking to that?
Christine Joy wanted that one put on there.
Okay.
And for that one, well, I'll come back to that one.
Okay.
And then let me just double check. I'm just doing selectmen ones. So we've got those, fire, the wage and personnel, and the solar. So that does it for BOS sponsored ones. And then we have received a few others, and we have some placeholders on there from a couple other departments. On the solar moratorium one, I would recommend that if you vote tonight to sponsor those articles, that you also take a vote to have us send it to the planning board so that they can begin the public hearing process, because that involves the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
So the planning board will need to hold a public hearing.
Liz, on the solar moratorium, I think you mentioned this to me, but just to be clear, town council thought that that was an okay thing to do, and
They did. He mentioned that several other towns are pursuing moratoriums, and that a lot of them, the results from the Attorney General's office are still up in the air. So he wasn't sure how that's going to play out, but he did not see a major issue if we were to put it on the warrant. And even if it does get approved at the special town meeting, there is always the chance that the AG's office will overturn it. And if that happened, then so be it. But if it's something we want to pursue, we're able to pursue it.
The warrant is open till when? October 3rd? Was that?
Correct. It closes automatically on the 3rd.
And we don't have another meeting before then, correct?
No.
Okay. I guess I don't have a problem with putting the article on the solar moratorium. I just don't know much about what the thinking was behind it.
I think, and I don't want to speak for Christine because she's not here tonight, but I believe that the general thought behind it is that we're being inundated with these projects.
Right.
And I think if we were afforded the opportunity to impose a 12-month moratorium on large-scale ground-mounted solar, this would not pertain to rooftop solar. It would only be large scale, but that it would enable us to better review our bylaw and maybe find out, what's working for us, what's not, and go from there. And maybe if we did need to facilitate some changes, we can make sure that these solar developments are going in a very responsible manner.
Okay.
And not that they haven't been in the past, but I think it would just be, I believe that her mindset was that it would afford us an opportunity to press pause temporarily and just revisit everything, because we've had so many of these projects, it's getting a little bit difficult to keep track of. So just to make sure that everything's still going well with it and that the bylaw reads clearly and as it should.
I'd also like to make sure the assessors are in the process. so that,
I did mention it to Wendy
Yep.
that Christine was interested in pursuing this. Obviously, though, Christine is one member of the board, so it would need the three of you, if you're a vote of you this evening, if you're willing to sponsor it for this town meeting or not.
I think some time to review and further polish the solar bylaw makes huge sense. Things are changing pretty quickly and thinking changing. I don't have any pipeline to truth on this, but I just have the gnawing suspicion that the Attorney General may not look too favorably on this. So I think we should be prepared for that possibility. But we're going into it in good faith, and I think we need a pause. I think we need to take a look again.
Another option too would be, instead of a 12 months, if you put a pause on it until
Town
I don't
meeting.
know, say July 1, like town meetings, so that if we did want to make edits to the solar bylaw, those could be done at the annual town meeting in May. And then we could lift the moratorium. So I don't know if you want to use the town meeting date or July 1 or June 30th. But I don't know that we need a full 12 months to conduct this review.
I think that's much more defensible and is strong evidence that we really are simply wanting to review the bylaw and not really delay people too much. So I like that idea. July 1st sounds right to me.
okay,
Can I make a couple comments?
sure, absolutely. Go ahead, John.
One thing is that for all of the existing ground-mounted solar projects, all of those were grandfathered in under the old bylaw. As far as I understand it, not a single project has come in under the new bylaw so far. Because what happened is when they went to put the new bylaw in, a bunch of people submitted in whatever application they needed to hold their potential projects under the old bylaw. So that's just one thing I'd note. The second thing I would note is there's been recent court activity with respect to solar and some concerns, and some reading of existing law on the books that makes it more difficult to put conditions around solar. It's not the intent of the old law. The old law is apparently from the 70s, when there was the interest in being able to encourage solar really for water heating. And the way that is on the books, it's starting to cause some challenges. So I think not only do I think it's worthwhile to at least attempt this, and I think Mark is right that it's probably more defensible to put a date so that we can look to town meeting. But I also think we have some work to do here to understand what that impact really means for the existing bylaw that we have, as well as what discussions may need to be had with our legislators about the court's interpretation.
Are you aware if there's any solars coming forth that are still under the old law, or have we basically?
I think there was a brand new project just filed.
But under the new law,
I'm not aware of it. My understanding is that what is being worked on now is what was under the old.
okay,
And if there's something brand new, then I'm not aware of that yet.
I think there's something new just within the last week or so.
okay. Yeah, I kind
Debatable if that one. See, I don't know how they all get classified. Like, say, for example, if somebody applies and they want to expand an existing project, maybe that falls under the bylaw that was in place when they first came in. That I'm not sure about. So I think John Williamson brings up a really good point.
we need legal to help us through that.
We do, absolutely. And I would just note, just to be clear, when Christine asked us to bring this forward this evening and have this on the agenda as one of the BOS sponsored articles potentially, we have not had any issues working with any of the current solar developers. So we don't want to represent that there's a problem. It's more just these projects are coming up so often now, and they really do change the landscape of the town. We just want to make sure that everything's being done properly and that there are no improvements that may need to be made to anything.
I think
the laws are changing quickly and everything, but I didn't want it to seem like more sinister than what it was. There's no problem with any existing projects that I'm aware of.
well, I like the idea of putting a moratorium partly because of the environmental effect. I think we need to take a look at that and see what our opportunities are there in terms of working with these companies that come in. So, Liz, do you want to do these individually? How would you like us to vote these?
I think if you just want to take a vote recommending the articles that were mentioned to be BOS sponsored articles, I think that's sufficient. And then I would make special note that the solar moratorium article does need to be forwarded to the planning board for public hearing.
Okay, so I would make a motion that swamp. There's two parts to that, the MVP part and the CPC. Now, the wage and personnel, why wouldn't that be wage and personnel?
I don't know that they're going to have a chance to meet in the way that the new bylaw is written. It does allow either, but I did reach out to Alan today, and it's just a housekeeping item. Something erroneously made it into the new version that I think was something in one of the formats that they used before.
So this would also include the wage and personnel article as outlined, and a solar moratorium article, which will also have to go to planning board for their approval.
And did you mention the fire chief one? You cut out for a minute.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you.
So that was a motion.
That was a motion.
I'll second it.
Not a very good motion.
John, I think you're freezing.
Did I?
You froze, so I think we got to the point of a roll call vote.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I made a motion that we approve the articles as I just discussed.
Yep.
Do I have a second?
I seconded them.
Okay. So for approval, Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer, yes. And you'll check with legal and all that, Linz.
Yes.
We're on to Dennett Solar Project approval of power purchase agreement and lease terms.
So this one is not ready for this evening.
Okay.
I think we're getting close, but the attorneys are communicating back and forth. So hopefully for the next meeting, we are ready to go and we can move forward. And
John's blood pressure has come down, I take it a little, hopefully.
I don't think so.
No, okay.
Once everyone's signed, I'll be good.
Okay.
Does this mean we're not going to get these installed before the start of the school year?
Which school year?
Yeah, which school year? Sorry.
Okay, next on the agenda is warrants paid. Bree?
Hi, $3,680.05.
Good, not a lot of money.
Nope, little one. Thank you.
Liz, town administrator updates?
So they are beginning work on the Green Communities grant that we received. So they're coordinating with the library director and with the fire chief to get those heating elements installed. So that's good news. We also received some other good news. The application I submitted for a community compact grant, it's for technical assistance to help us with developing an emergency preparedness plan, which is a vital part of your toolkit if you want to apply for other grants, and not just town grants, but other things on the public safety side of things. That's something really important to have. So this grant, it's through the Community Compact Program in the amount of $24,500. And we can utilize that to work with MEMA and any other consultants that we deem necessary to get this plan off the ground. And we have 2 years to get it completed. And it needs to be in a form that not only can we share with the state when we're done, but it has to be something that we can clearly point to and show that it's able to be implemented and that we're actually making use of it. So that's good news. As far as other community compact projects, it does not appear that we're going to be eligible for funding to update the capital improvement plan, because we were already funded for that project when my predecessor was with the town. And it was a whole different staff at that point, a lot of the former staff. But in any event, it does appear that that's something that we will have to take on ourselves as far as getting that updated. But I think we can figure that out. Everyone's up for the challenge. So
Yeah, we have to reach out to the Collins group, I think, and
yes, I have them. I already reached out to them, and they did give us a proposal, like a
Okay.
cost-based proposal for it. So that is something we can talk with the finance committee and with the internal financial team. But if people are inclined to get it updated and they want those professional services to help out with that process, maybe it's something that we consider an article for at town meeting in May. To secure that funding. It's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but I do think it would be money well spent to have a 5-year capital improvement plan. We would just have to make the commitment internally, obviously, to keep it up to date so that we're
yes,
not wasting our money. And I think at the same time as updating that, they would also be willing to take another look at the old financial forecasting tool that they had prepared for the old financial team, and get that up to date and in a format that all of us are comfortable utilizing. So
I think that's
that might be
important.
money really well spent, but I think that might be a better discussion for the annual town meeting in May.
We did
Yeah.
make a commitment when we signed up for that, so I'd like to see us honor that.
Yes.
I think that should be a pretty high priority. There were pretty good tools that they offered us 5 years ago. They were pretty exciting. I think we didn't have enough personnel and energy to perpetuate them, but they're a little bit of work, but I think they really were professionalized, and maybe more importantly, they really give us tools to do just what the title said, to forecast and plan ahead.
I think it also
Okay.
brings a structure across the town.
Yep.
You know, that so if it all has to feed into one place, that will create a structure. So I think that's important too.
Well, and we might want to look at that time if you want to keep the current structure where the finance committee serves as the capital planning committee. It might be nice to have a bit more diversity.
Yeah,
within
that's a
that.
discussion down the road, but yes, that might help.
So that concludes my updates, and I do not have anything in correspondence.
Okay. Mark, do you have anything before we go to the minutes?
Nothing that's on the agenda, that isn't on the agenda.
Okay. You don't want to throw a fastball?
I do not.
Okay. So we have the minutes from 9/12. Bree, I know you sent them out and you incorporated some of the comments, so I don't have any issue with them. Mark, do you have any issue
I'm
with them?
fine.
Okay. So I would make a motion that we approve the minutes of September 12th as written.
Second,
Approval for all those in favor? Mr. Russo?
yes.
Mr. Trainee, yes. Let's see. Our next meeting is on October 3rd for 1:30. That's for the power.
Conservation restriction, and then we
Okay.
have the pinning ceremony for the
Yep.
police at 5:30.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then our follow-on meetings are October 17th and November 7th. Good. John, did you have anything you wanted to mention before we go into raves?
I do not.
Okay,
Good.
great. Mark, you got a rave?
I do. This is for Liz, and the late in the week report that she sends, sort of giving us background and information on agenda items. You know, a lot of towns do this. This is something new for us, and it's really tremendously helpful to have that information and kind of have the weekend to digest a little and think about. So very, very much appreciate that. And another piece in very nicely professionalizing the way we get things done. So thank you so much, Liz.
I would second that. That it's a big help because often you might think we know what's going on, but we often don't. You concurring?
Sure, absolutely.
I have a rave too. I was approached by one of the CASA members who put me in touch with a lady that was trying to find space for her first grade cheerleaders. And she was asking if the old townhouse was available, which we kind of passed on because of the issues we're facing with the storms and the rain and the leaky ceiling, etc. But I did reach out to Colleen Thompson, and the church is now going to host them for the next, I think it's 8 sessions or 8 weekends. So my rave is for Colleen and for the church. I think that was very nice. So they found a home. Okay, looks like we're done. So I would make a motion that we adjourn.
Thank you for chairing tonight, John. I'll second your motion.
I didn't realize Christine was out, so this was a little choppy, but that's all right. So for approval to adjourn, Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Trainee, yes.